what was not even a thing, coddling, when I was a kid in the 80s, was my mom just held me accountable. I mean, like, you know, this is incredibly politically incorrect by today's parenting standards, but like, if I saw kids do something in the last week at the playground, grabbing a cab the other day, like that my mom would absolutely knock me out for. Like I saw a kid say to his mom, "Shut up." And I shivered. This happened this weekend. Shivered, because I know for a fact if I said that to my mom, she would have smacked me as hard as she possibly could in my face. Now that isn't what we do nowadays as parents. I don't want to make another violent clip where I get completely canceled, but we need to learn as modern parents there was many bad things that happened with spanking your kid, whipping your kid, but you know, the reason I wasn't overcoddled was I wasn't overcoddled. Meaning, telling your kid that they're a great person, that they're wonderful, telling them that they're good at baseball when they are good at baseball, telling them they're bad at baseball when they're bad at baseball is something that isn't been done as much. I see it because my son's good at baseball, and I watch parents that have kids that are bad at baseball telling me that they're good, and I'm like, they're not. And I also tell my son, when my son tells me he's gonna be in the NBA, I'm like, you better learn how to shoot 40% from the field from half court, because you're gonna be under 6 feet tall. And if you're gonna be in the NBA, you're gonna have to do some crazy 3.0 version of Steph Curry, where you're like literally hitting half court shots, because defenders that are 6'7" point guards by then are gonna be able to give you no room to shoot. So you better figure this out. That's talking real to a kid. But a lot of parents took the take in the last 30 years that was me crushing his dream. That's delusion. And then finally, it's no accountability. Parents have gotten into this place where they want to be their kids' friends, or they don't want to deal with the confrontation that comes along with hard parenting. And that's hard. I succumbed to it at times, but my mom didn't. Like, my mom never feared confrontation, even though she was the sweetest with me. She just didn't coddle, yet she made me think that I was the best in the world, because I thought I wasn't the best in the world at everything.
But then it gets to a point where we're telling the kids that they're so great, and then they go out in the real world.
That's right.
And the real world's not going to tell you you're great.
Nope.
It's actually going to tell you how awful you are.
It's actually not going to tell you how awful you are. It's going to tell you what it is. Right?
Yep.
The real world's just going to be based on merit. And so I don't think it's awful. I think I don't think social media is awful. I don't think the real world's awful. I just think it's
No, but real. If you're awful, they're going to tell you you're awful.
That. And so, like, if you have a parent who's like, look, I think it's remarkable to say you can be anything you want. I think the part that has also been lost is hard work. Like, the world is struggling to find its way with hard work, because the world is doing a good job of being thoughtful about burnout. I love that. I love that I use the word work. I love that I use the word work ethic now instead of the word hustle. Not because of anything else, but if the world has taken the word hustle and changed it on me, which is what happened. Yep. When I used hustle, it just meant you've got to give effort. Yeah. It didn't mean get yourself into depression and don't sleep and use drugs to cope. That's not how I defined it. That is how the world defines it. I am thrilled to adjust my word, but the world is struggling with the word work ethic. It just is. And so what ends up happening is parents are struggling to find that balance. Yes, you can be better at everything in the world. There's not one thing in the world that I don't think I can be better at. Not one. Skiing, teaching, punching, eating. There's everything I can be better at. I can't be world class at everything. That is something the world's gonna have to get better at. Honey, you can be anything you want in the world. Honey, you can maximize your natural talents in every category if you put a lot of work ethic into it. You just might not be Beyonce and LeBron, and that's awesome. But like, for example, I love basketball. I could be way better. I could tomorrow hire a new shooting coach. I'm wealthy now. I can hire a shooting coach, can come to my apartment even every day of the week. I can get up at 6 a.m., I can completely change my form because unfortunately, when I was in high school, I played on a 9-foot rim with my friends. So I'm 5'8", 5'9" on a good day. So I play like a 6'8", 6'9" person because I played on a 9-foot rim. So everything's like, I play like a big man. Like I've got great inside like touch, but my shot acts like I'm like a power forward center. And so it's ugly. I could be better, but to what degree? I could be better at pickup. I could be better than my brother, even though he's better than me now, if I really went hard for the next 5 years and worked on my game. But I'm not gonna be in the NBA. And we've gotta find that place with I do it with my employees. I do it with my employees. I do it with my family. I do it with everybody in the world through content because it leads to a better place.
But then there's such a fine line between you helping and you being a dream crusher.
Correct. But a dream crusher is based on delusion. Like, again, it's a very simple sentence. Dad, I'm going to be X. Cool. Anything that isn't physical, I would argue is in play. I think it's much easier to be the president of the United States of America than it is to be an NBA player.
Yep.
I think it's much easier to be famous on television than it is to be an NBA player. I think it's much easier to be the greatest chef in the world than it is to be an NBA player. I think where crushing dreams has to come in is a little bit, based on realities of physical stuff, right? I just think that's real. And a lot of people gravitate towards physical stuff early on. But if somebody says they're gonna be an astronaut, everybody's in play for an astronaut. Now, if you're like my mom and everything makes you nauseous, one could argue you have more hurdles to get over, to become an astronaut, but I still think you can get over the hump on nausea. I did, by the way, on the record. In my youth, I struggled with flights and my tummy would hurt. I grew up on flights in my teenage years. Now I take flights every hour of the day. So I got better. Heights, I'm better. Like I live high now, and my office high. So you can get better at things. But I think that sports is dangerous. I actually argue that entrepreneurship is dangerous. It's something I'm trying to figure out. It's really hard to be a great entrepreneur if you're not born one. Like, great. I think being an entrepreneur that makes $400,000 a year in revenue against a business that lets you take home $93,000 because you run it very profitably around something you like, HR placing, consulting against a specific, Internet of Things, AR, Web3, people management. Like, I would be great at having a one-man consulting business around HR. Great at it. It comes natural to me. I've done it. I'm good at it. And I could make a really good company that does $5 million a year that I make $3 million in profit.
Yep.
There's people that are not as great in HR as me, but could make a nice one-person shop with freelancers doing $600,000 a year because they have 2-3 retainers at $100K, right? That is very feasible, but that's based on self-awareness, and I think is a great life. The problem is everyone now thinks you need to make $1 billion when you start a business.